come to revised AS10, it will be called now revised AS10. The name of the standard would be now revised AS10, and the name of the standard has also changed. What was old AS10 known as fixed asset, this revised AS will be called property, plant and equipment. Same like Ind AS 16. Ind AS 16 is also property, plant and equipment, or IFRS IAS 16, property, plant and equipment. So more or less globally the name of the standard for accounting for tangible fixed asset is property, plant and equipment. So we have also copied that same name. We have been inspired from the same thing. So henceforth we'll not call AS10 as fixed asset. We'll call it property, plant and equipment, which basically deals with tangible fixed asset. Intangible fixed asset will be covered by, continue to be covered by AS26 intangible assets. So there are many changes in the accounting standard 10. The most important one, as you know, AS6 is not applicable to you now. Depreciation accounting AS6 has been withdrawn. So now depreciation will also be adjusted or understood under AS10 only. So that is one important change. AS10 will now also cover accounting of depreciation. Earlier there were two standards covering depreciation and property, plant and equipment. Now this standard is more or less in line with Ind AS 16, property, plant and equipment. So by understanding this standard, you can say you have also understood almost 99% of Ind AS 16 also, because it's designed on the similar lines. So this standard deals with property, plant and equipment. Then we are going to cover today what will be included in the cost of property, plant and equipment. In short, everywhere you will find PPE is written, which stands for property, plant and equipment. And then we will also discuss some special treatments, like for example asset purchase for a consolidated price. How do you do the accounting of that? Asset acquired in exchange of another asset, how do we do accounting of that? Asset acquired in the form of government grant, now how do we do the accounting for that? So these are some special accounting treatment we will see. AS10 is made applicable to financial statement prepared on historical cost basis. So AS10 deals with the same historical cost based accounting, but at the same time we will see that it also allows you to follow historic revaluation model also. What is the definition of property, plant and equipment? Read it and tell me, is it different from your accounting standard 10? Assuming you have read AS10, property, plant and equipment are tangible items. So this standard deals with only tangible asset that are held for use in the production or supply of goods or services, as usual, for rentals to others, as usual, or for administrative purpose, and are expected to be used for more than a period of 12 months. Is this pen a property, plant and equipment? गौर से देखिए, this is a property, plant and equipment. It is not an ordinary pen. It's an electronic pen. We use it for writing on the computers. Hopefully it will work today. Okay. So therefore, I'll prove why it is a property, plant and equipment. It is held for use in the production or supply of goods and services. The moment I start using it for teaching in my classroom, I am using it for rendering the services. It is either or, not rental for others, or for administrative purpose. This may not be applicable to us. Is it expected to be used for more than one accounting year? You trust me, I am using it for last 4 years now. Since I purchased this computer. This is the 4th year of this pen, and I am sure it will run for another 4 more years. Unless I lose it, of course. So we will classify it as a property, plant and equipment. I have a car in the parking. Is it a property, plant and equipment? Yes. There is a car in the showroom also. Kothari Wheels also sell the same car, I-20. Is it a property, plant and equipment? The answer is no. Because for them it is not meant for production or supply of goods and service. For them it will be a stock in trade. Inventory AS2 will become applicable. So one has to really see the purpose for which the asset is held. If it is held for sale in the normal course of business, inventory. If it is meant for production, rendering of service, rentals, administrative purpose, and it should be used for more than 12 months, then it is property, plant and equipment. What are not covered by AS10? So this is something new for you. There are some similarities, there are some differences also. AS10 does not cover, what it does not cover? Biological assets. Biological asset means living plant and animal. Living plant and animal. You are biological asset, okay? I am also. That tree outside this classroom is also biological asset. So living plant and animal are biological asset relating to agricultural activity other than bearer plant. Exceptions to exception. This standard is not applicable to biological asset. But if the biological asset is a bearer plant, AS10 is applicable. Example of bearer plant, orange tree, apple tree. That is a biological asset which generates something like say fruits, vegetables, etc. So they are called bearer plants. Apple tree is a bearer plant. Orange tree is a bearer plant. Orange is not a bearer plant. Orange tree is a bearer plant. Orange is a agricultural produce. AS10 is not applicable to that. But AS10 will be applicable to the plant, the orange plant. AS10 applies to bearer plant, which was not there in your accounting standard 10. In fact, you don't know even what is bearer plant. But it does not apply to produce on the bearer plant. Orange के लिए AS10 applicable नहीं है. Orange tree के लिए AS10 applicable, just like it is applicable for any other property, plant and equipment. Then AS10 is not applicable for wasting assets, including mineral rights, expenditure on the exploration for and extraction of mineral oil, natural gas and similar non-regenerative resources. This is there in your existing AS10 also. Okay. Because this is a complicated area, so it is not covered by a simple standard like AS10. Institute has issued guidance note for such industries which are involved in exploration of oil, gas and such natural resources. Okay. Under Ind AS there is a separate standard on industry involved in exploration and exploitation of natural resources. But accounting standards right now do not cover such assets and such businesses. AS10 does not cover asset acquired under finance lease. Why? Asset is capitalized in the books of lessee under a finance lease. But there is a separate standard for that, AS19. So therefore, the standard is not applicable. For asset acquired under finance lease, you will follow AS19. But when it comes to accounting of depreciation or impairment, then the standard will become applicable. But the initial accounting is covered by AS19. Then the standard does not cover the initial accounting of asset acquired in mergers and acquisitions. Which standard is covered by that? So there are some standards which cover this kind of asset. Hence AS10 is not applicable. So these two are not mentioned in your accounting standard 10. Old one. The revised AS10 mentions what is not applicable in detail also. Then the standard is not applicable for investment property. What is investment property? Investment in real estate, land and building with the objective of earning either rental income or capital gain is investment property. At present, under accounting standard 13 deals with investment property. So this standard does not deal with that. Now, first few minutes I will take some of the important definitions of this standard. For example, just now we had said biological asset. AS10 is not applicable to biological asset. But if a biological asset is a bearer plant, AS10 is applicable. What do you mean by biological asset? Biological asset means living animal or plant. Once the animal is dead, AS10 is not applicable. In any case, it is not applicable, but it is not a biological asset also. For example, cattle, tea bushes, etc. What is a bearer plant? Why I am telling you? Because AS10 is applicable to bearer plant, even though it's a biological asset. So bearer plant is a plant that is used in the production or supply of agricultural produce. Just keep that orange tree in mind or apple tree in mind. Is used in production or supply of agricultural produce. Is expected to bear produce for more than a period of 12 months and has a remote likelihood of being sold as agricultural produce except for incidental scrap sale. They themselves are not sold. The produce is sold. Only once suppose the orange tree's life is over, then what will you do? Then you will scrap it. That is okay. But in general, we don't trade in orange trees. What we sell? Produce of the orange tree. So then that is a bearer plant. Sometimes it say, for example, in case of some crop, that crop itself is taken out and sold directly. That is not a bearer plant. Orange tree grown in plantation for the producing of fruits is an example of bearer plants. So bearer plants are also covered by AS10 now, which was not earlier discussed also in old AS10. What is carrying amount? As usual, cost minus accumulated depreciation minus accumulated impairment loss. That is carrying amount, means book value. What is gross carrying amount? Cost. Before deducting depreciation and impairment loss is gross carrying amount. Gross carrying amount of an asset is the cost or other amount substituted for the cost, or other amount substituted for the cost means revaluation. Then the revalued amount will become the gross carrying amount without making deduction for depreciation and impairment loss. There are some more definitions, I am not taking them. Now we'll come to the next part. First part was scope, where AS10 is applicable or not applicable. Second part was some key definitions. And third part is now the recognition principle. When should property, plant, equipment should be shown in the balance sheet as an asset? That is the question. When should it be shown? So that will be guided by revised AS10. Recognition means when should an expenditure be now presented in the balance sheet as an asset. So this standard says when two conditions are satisfied. और ये ध्यान में रखना है क्योंकि 2-3 बार और रिपीट होगा आगे चल के. First condition is that it is probable that future economic benefit associated with the item will flow to the enterprise. What is future economic benefit? Future economic benefit means either the expenditure will help in increase in revenue in future, or it will result into cost reduction. Whether the expenditure is going to increase your revenue or whether it is going to reduce your cost, that is future economic benefit. Suppose you construct a road Okay, now you will answer. Construct a road in a remote village very far away from your company as a part of your CSR activity as per CSR expenditure requirement. Whether this road can be shown in the balance sheet as a property, plant, equipment. It is meant for rendering service. It has a useful life of more than 12 months, yes or no? But cannot be capitalized as an asset because there is no future economic benefit. You are operating in Pune, the village is in Chhattisgarh, and the government says you have to spend 2% of your net profit in CSR expenditure. So you spent it. Now you are not going to get anything out of that road. What will be the treatment of that expenditure? Charge to penal account. Suppose you constructed a hospital in a remote village, building, school building in a remote village as a part of your CSR program. Will you capitalize in your books as a hospital or school building? Again, the answer is no. There is no future economic benefit. Right? And next is the cost of that item can be measured reliably. These two lines you will find nowadays in most of the accounting standard. Before you capitalize any expenditure as an asset, ask these two questions. Can we get future economic benefit? And second, can its cost be measured reliably? If the answer is no to any of the two questions, then it cannot be shown as a property, plant and equipment. What about the treatment of spare parts, standby equipment and service equipment? Should they also be recognized as an asset? Yes or no? The answer is it depends whether they meet the definition of PPE or not. If they also meet the definition of property, plant and equipment. What was the definition of property, plant and equipment? These are the tangible items that are used in production of goods, rendering of service, rental, administrative purpose. Okay, which can be used for more than 12 months. Secondly, they will generate future economic benefit. Third, cost can be measured reliably. If these conditions are fulfilled, you can capitalize spare parts, standby equipment and service equipment also. Otherwise, these items will be treated as inventory item. Small spare parts which have small life, you put it as inventory in your balance sheet. But if the spare part has more than 12 months of life, they are not meant for sale in the normal course of business, then they can be capitalized as property, plant and equipment, and then you will provide depreciation on that. What about small value items? Suppose you buy a calculator for a company, 250 rupees. Is it property, plant, equipment? If I go by definition, the answer is yes. A calculator used in the office for your day-to-day accounting purpose, calculation purpose, is a property, plant, equipment. It is useful for more than 12 months. Then it is used for rendering of services. But the amount is immaterial, and therefore it can be fully written off in the year of purchase. What is that amount, minimum amount below which you will write off and above it you will capitalize? Do we have any such benchmark? The answer is no. 5,000 गया, जमाना पूरा हो गया, पुराना जमाने की बात कर रहे हो आप. There is no limit. That is left to your judgment. 5,000 rupees was under Companies Act 1956, Schedule 6. We are far, far away from that now, Companies Act 1956. बहुत दूर आ गए अब तो हम. अब कोई लिमिट नहीं है. अगर मान लो आपकी कंपनी रिलायंस इंडस्ट्रीज लिमिटेड है, तो फिर आप 15,000 की लिमिट सेट कर सकते हैं. ठीक है. अब उनकी बैलेंस शीट की टोटली कई लाख करोड़ रुपए होती है, उसमें 5,000 का कोई इंपॉर्टेंस ही नहीं है. तो वैसी कंपनी 15,000 की लिमिट सेट कर सकती है एज एन अकाउंटिंग पॉलिसी. हमारी कंपनी बहुत छोटी है, हम 500 रुपये की लिमिट सेट कर सकते हैं. एग्जाम्पल. नाउ व्हाट अबाउट आइटम सेल्ड फॉर, और यूज फॉर एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव पर्पस, बिकॉज अभी डेफिनेशन में कहा कि इट इज यूज फॉर प्रोडक्शन ऑफ गुड्स, रेंडरिंग ऑफ सर्विस, रेंटल, बट सम आइटम्स आर यूज फॉर administrative purpose also. Including such items can also be capitalized as property, plant and equipment. Suppose यहाँ पर एक हमने attendance counting की मशीन रखी है, आज हमने physical attendance लिया आपका, कल एक मशीन यहाँ पे लगाएंगे, जब आप अंदर आएंगे थंब रखना, attendance आपका ले लिया जाएगा, पिताजी को पता चल जाएगा आप आ गए क्लास में. Now so that is for administrative purpose. Can that attendance machine will also be shown as property, plant and equipment? Yes. The answer is yes, you can do it. Okay, so assets used in selling and distribution. Suppose आपने एक टीवी लगा रखा है बाहर में डिस्प्ले के लिए, एडवर्टीजमेंट के लिए. Can it be capitalized as property, plant and equipment? Yes. अकाउंटिंग के लिए आपने एक कंप्यूटर लगा रखा है. Can it be capitalized? Yes. So used for finance, accounting, personnel and other functions of the enterprise. Asset acquired for safety and environmental reasons. Law of the land says that you have to incur this expenditure, otherwise you will be causing pollution in the environment and then we will cancel your license. So what this company did, a chemical manufacturer installing new chemical handling process. So they have installed a machine. Before the water will be thrown, the waste water will be thrown in the river, it will go through that chemical processing plant. Will that chemical processing plant, it is not generating any revenue. It may not reduce any cost also, but that is required for compliance with the environmental regulation. Can it be shown as a property, plant, equipment? The answer is yes. So sometimes it may not directly generate future economic benefit. But if you don't have this machine, your license will be cancelled. So it is indirectly helping in future economic benefit. Even such asset can be capitalized. This is a new paragraph. It was not there in the old AS10. What about the treatment of subsequent cost? Cost of day-to-day servicing. Cost of day-to-day servicing, that is repairs and maintenance, are expensed of and are not capitalized. Now AS10 old में क्या लिखा हुआ था जरा सुनना. Subsequent expenditure will be capitalized if the expenditure increases the capacity, efficiency, performance of the asset beyond its previously assessed standard of performance. There is no such paragraph here. It only says, once again, if subsequent expenditure also meets the definition of property, plant and equipment and the recognition principle of property, plant and equipment, then subsequent expenditure will also be capitalized. यानी सबके लिए उन्होंने इसको लिंक कर दिया दो चीजों से, whether it meets the definition of property, plant and equipment and whether it meets the two recognition requirement. Which are the two recognition requirement? One, future economic benefit. Second, cost can be measured reliably. So in general, regular routine repairs, maintenance expenditure incurred on the asset will be charged to profit and loss account. Okay, now something which will really change the accounting in India for fixed asset is this paragraph now, replacement of asset. Replacement of asset. First I will read the example to understand. An aircraft may require its seats and galleys to be replaced several times during the aircraft's useful life. So I will draw one aircraft. This is aircraft, okay? नहीं है, इंटीरियर है. नाउ ये उसकी सीट्स हैं दोनों साइड. पूरी एयरक्राफ्ट की लाइफ कितनी साल है? 15 ईयर्स. और ये जो आप अंदर में सीट्स लगाते हैं, क्या इसकी लाइफ भी 15 ईयर है? क्या आपने कस्टमर को एक ही सीट पे 15 साल बैठाओगे? नहीं. What do? They replace it. So what you will do when you replace these seats, for example, this is applicable to any asset. Periodically we replace. For example, in case of car, we replace the tires. कार की लाइफ 20 साल है, टायर की लाइफ 20 साल होती है, ट्राई भी मत करना। आफ्टर 4-5 years यू शुड रिप्लेस द टायर्स ऑफ द कार। तो क्या करेंगे, अभी अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड 10 में द पार्ट विच विल बी रिप्लेस्ड विल बी डी रिकॉग्नाइज्ड and the part which will now purchase, the new asset which will purchase would be capitalized। पहले हम क्या करते थे, कोई आपसे पूछेगा, जो लोग सीए फाइन के स्टूडेंट बैठे हैं इंटरव्यू में, कि पहले हम क्या करते थे, तो पहले जो हम रिप्लेसमेंट करते थे उसको पूरा पीएनएल अकाउंट में चार्ज करते थे, ओरिजिनल एसेट को छूते नहीं थे। अभी आपको ओरिजिनल एसेट में जो पार्ट रिप्लेस किया हमने उसको डी रिकॉग्नाइज करेंगे, उसको कम करेंगे हमारी बुक से। तो ये सीट, मान लो हमारी बुक में सीट की वैल्यू 10,000 रुपये दिख रही है, तो इसको हम या तो बेचेंगे या स्क्रैप करेंगे। सपोज बेच दिया, कितने में बिकेगी ये सीट, 2,000 में। पीएनएल अकाउंट 8,000, 2 सीट्स 10,000। नया सीट परचेज किया हमने, सीट अकाउंट डेबिट, न्यू सीट 25,000 की, टू बैंक 25,000, ये न्यू अकाउंटिंग। ओके, तो रिप्लेस्ड पार्ट वुड बी कैपिटलाइज्ड। ओल्ड AS 10 में एक बार मेन एसेट एयरक्राफ्ट को हमने कैपिटलाइज कर दिया, और हर साल ये जो सीट रिप्लेस करते थे इसको हम एक्सपेंडिचर ट्रीट कर रहे थे। वन मोर इंपॉर्टेंट पैराग्राफ टिक मार्क नॉट देयर इन द ओल्ड AS 10 इज मेजर इंस्पेक्शन कॉस्ट। मेजर इंस्पेक्शन cost, like for example if you have aircraft, okay, so that requires major inspection, otherwise it might meet with some kind of accident, and that accident means it's a complete loss, not only of the aircraft but also passengers, human life. This standard says if this major inspection meets the definition of PPE and recognition criteria for PPE, even the major inspection cost would be capitalized, and the old inspection cost which was capitalized will be de-recognized. Old inspection cost which was capitalized will be de-recognized, and the new inspection cost would be recognized as an asset. Okay, subject to two things, बार बार definition of property plant and equipment is met and the recognition criteria of fixed asset is met. Major inspection cost can be added to the cost of the asset, and previous inspection cost, to the extent it is not yet written off, will be de-recognized. So it is like replacement, it is like treatment like replacement. Earlier what we used to do under AS 10, चार्ज टू पिनल अकाउंट, चार्ज टू पिनल अकाउंट, जो भी इंस्पेक्शन कॉस्ट इनकर किया हमने तो उसको हम पिनल अकाउंट में चार्ज करते थे। अभी मेजर इंस्पेक्शन कॉस्ट वुड बी कैपिटलाइज्ड। ओके, नाउ द नेक्स्ट पैराग्राफ इज मेजरमेंट। हमने कितनी जर्नी कवर कर ली है, डेफिनेशन, स्कोप, रिकॉग्निशन प्रिंसिपल। ओके, एंड नाउ विल कम टू मेजरमेंट। अकाउंटेंट हैज टू record any transaction at monetary value. What value will I place on property, plant and equipment? Initially, day one, when you acquire a property, plant, equipment, it will be measured at cost. And what is cost? Cost is the amount of cash paid, cash equivalent paid, or any other asset given. In case of any other asset given, it is the fair value of that other consideration to acquire the asset at the time of its acquisition or construction. You can pay cash and purchase an asset, very simple. You can pay cash equivalent, as good as cash. For example, investment, securities, or you can transfer some other asset in purchase of a property, plant and equipment. That is the cost initially. So first day one, when you acquire a property, plant, equipment, you will recognize it at cost. This is called cost model, day one cost model, not at fair value. Fair value पे हम बाद पे आएंगे। कॉस्ट में क्या क्या इंक्लूड करना है, पहले तो जो उसकी बेसिक परचेस प्राइस है वो लेना है, अगर आपने टैक्सेस पे किए हैं, टू बी पे टैक्स, यस, एनी टैक्स that you know of at the time of purchase of any property, plant, equipment, you may pay excise duty, you may pay VAT. यहाँ पर एक import duty का example लिखा हुआ है, custom duty, और क्या पे करते हैं, stamp duty, octroi, is it right? LBT, पूना में LBT पे करते हैं, local body tax, okay, whatever, सबको ऐड करना है, लेकिन किसे ऐड नहीं करना है, रिफंडेबल टैक्सेस को ऐड नहीं करना है. व्हाट इज रिफंडेबल टैक्सेस? दोज टैक्सेस विच कैन बी क्लेम्ड एज सेट ऑफ at the time of payment of final duty on finished goods. Like for example, excise duty paid on purchase can be claimed as set off while paying excise duty on finished goods. VAT paid at the time of purchase can be claimed as set off at the time of payment of VAT. Is it right? So to the extent the set off is available, will not be capitalized. That set off will be capitalized as a separate asset. SANVAT credit receivable, VAT credit receivable, we will debit those accounts. Next is any cost directly attributable to bring the asset to the location and condition necessary for it to be capable of operating in the manner intended by the management. So cost to bring the asset to its location and condition, from where it can start operating the way you want. Like for example, I buy a projector, but only buying a box in which projector is there, is it enough? What I have to do? I have to install it. So there may be another 5,000 rupees on installation. That will also be added to the cost of this projector. And the initial estimate of this, you underline, this is not there in the old AS10. ये तीनों हैं जो आपने AS10 पढ़ा ओल्ड वाला, बट ये आई थिंक उन्होंने नया ऐड किया है रिवाइज्ड में. द इनिशियल कॉस्ट ऑफ डिसमेंटलिंग, initial estimate of the cost of dismantling, removing the items and restoring the site on which it is located, it is generally referred to as decommissioning, restoration and similar liabilities. Example, suppose the government has given you mining rights. Government has given you, you can extract coal, iron ore, gold, etc. Once the mining is over after 3 years, 3 साल का लाइसेंस है, जितना निकाल सकते हो निकाल लो. After the mining is over, what is your duty? To remove the debris, level the land and bring it back to its original condition. Accounting standard 29 requires you will make a provision for such decommissioning, restoration liabilities. Provision for decommissioning liabilities. So one effect will be asset account debit, and second effect will be provision for decommissioning liability. Don't bother about my spelling right now, I'm little fast. So ये entry pass करनी है. That is also included in the cost of the asset. If you have an asset which once its useful life or whatever contract was there is over, and you have to dismantle, remove, restore the site, even that amount that is to be incurred in future will be treated as a cost. एक तरफ asset को उतना debit करना है और दूसरा liability को credit करना है. So that will be included. Next is directly attributable cost. आपके presentation sheet में ये भी है. Example of directly attributable cost. What is directly? Those which are incurred to bring the asset to its location and condition, from where it can generate whatever purpose was there. Example, cost of employee benefit arising directly from construction or acquisition of PPE item. Normally what we do with the salary of the employee, usual treatment is P&L account. Always? No. Let us say this employee, this is employee, Okay. He is involved in construction of a tangible asset, say building. He is involved in construction of a building. The salary paid to this employee will be added to the cost of building, not to be charged to P&L account. Cost of site preparation added. Site preparation, you buy a machine has to be installed. For that you have to keep the site ready. Okay, you may have to put more and more sand, cement, etc. Make it level. That is also to be added in that cost of that asset. Then obviously initial delivery and handling cost, all transportation cost, loading, unloading, installation cost, assembly cost, cost of testing whether the asset is functioning properly or not. Cost of testing whether the asset is functioning properly or not. Testing cost is also added. ये AS10 में नहीं है, वो पुराने वाले में. Sale proceeds of any sample produced during testing will be deducted. So any income generated during testing will be deducted. Suppose आपने जूस बनाने की मशीन परचेज की है, फिर आपने सोचा टेस्ट करके देखते हैं जूस बनता है या नहीं बनता है. 2 लीटर जूस निकल गया, आपका नहीं, मशीन का. And then you sold it for 200 rupees. So what is the amount at which that juice machine would be capitalized? 2000 rupees minus 200 can be capitalized. And then any professional fees paid, like consultancy fees, architect's fees, engineer's fees in construction of a building will be capitalized. Okay. What will not be included in the cost of PPE? 1. Cost of opening a new facility or business such as inauguration cost. Inauguration cost will not be added. That is obvious, but they have mentioned it because businessmen are very creative people. Second is the cost of introducing a new product or service. So it's more like advertisement. Third is cost of conducting business in a new location. That earlier all this AS10 had not very explicitly mentioned. It was there, not very explicitly mentioned. Now they are mentioned in the standard only. If you are shifting your factory from Pune to Aurangabad, that shifting expenditure is not to be capitalized. Staff training cost will not be capitalized. This you will find in AS26 also. The reason being, over the staff there is no control. Over the staff there is no control. After getting the training, the staff can leave the organization. So control does not rest with the entity, and therefore it does not meet the definition of asset. Tangible asset to baad mein. Control is not there. So therefore staff training cost cannot be added. And then general administration and general overheads will not be included in the cost of PPE. Again, some more items should not be capitalized. Practically these issues will arise. So what the institute has done this time in this accounting standard itself, they have tried to cover most of the possibilities, and therefore nothing will be left to the chance or your imagination, but still there is a possibility. Everything cannot be covered by a standard. Like they are saying, the cost incurred while a PPE item is capable of operating in the intended manner, but is not yet, it's yet to be actually brought into use, or when the item is operating at less than full capacity. Even if the asset is idle or is not operating at full capacity, during that period, in case if you incur some cost, it will not be added to the cost of the asset. Initial operating losses will not be capitalized, charged to P&L account. Some companies may say that first 2 months we have incurred losses. Let us capitalize that also. Allowed? Hai? No. And then this we have discussed, relocating or reorganizing the operations of an enterprise is not to be capitalized. Now, what is the cost of self-constructed asset? व्हाट इज द कॉस्ट ऑफ सेल्फ कंस्ट्रक्टेड एसेट। तो यहां पर मैंने ज्यादा टाइम वेस्ट नहीं किया है, एक यूज सिमिलर प्रिंसिपल्स एज अक्वायर्ड एसेट, जो अभी आपने पढ़ा पिछले 2 मिनट में। ऑल कॉस्ट इनकर्ड टू ब्रिंग द एसेट टू इट्स प्रेजेंट लोकेशन एंड कंडीशन so that it can start generating the service for which it is intended to will be added. Some guideline: internal profits are eliminated. Internal profits are eliminated. You can't make profit from yourself. Okay, suppose there is a company which manufactures car. Some cars are used for own consumption. Own consumption means in-house purpose. Maruti Suzuki, I don't know the price, you guide me. Swift car sales for say 6,50,000 rupees. Will they capitalize it at 6,50,000 if one of the cars is used for internal transportation within the factory? No, minus profit, because it might be including profit element. If they want to use one car which they themselves have manufactured, that will be capitalized at much lower cost. It should not include the internal profit margin. Abnormal losses of material, labor, etc. P&L account. What about borrowing cost? What about borrowing cost? Now go to AS16. If AS16 permits you to capitalize the borrowing cost, you can. If AS16 does not permit, you will not. So borrowing cost can be capitalized if it is a qualifying asset. If it is a qualifying asset, then you can, otherwise you cannot. For example, suppose I purchase, example के लिए BMW car, okay, मैंने क्लैरिफाई कर दिया एग्जाम्पल के लिए, और मैंने लोन लिया है 40 लाख रुपए का, उस पर मैंने इंटरेस्ट पे किया है 4 लाख रुपए इस साल, तो क्या मैं उसको कार की कॉस्ट में कैपिटलाइज कर सकता हूँ? नहीं कर सकता, बिकॉज AS16 विल नॉट परमिट यू टू कैपिटलाइज दैट 4 लाख रुपीज. A ready-made car ready to use is not a qualifying asset. But if I borrow money to construct a building, self-constructed building, so that we can start teaching CA students there, okay, that interest can be added to the cost of the building. तो AS16 में जाओ और वो आपको अगर अलाउ करता है तो उसको कैपिटलाइज करना. ट्रीटमेंट ऑफ इनकम फ्रॉम इंसिडेंटल ऑपरेशंस. ट्रीटमेंट ऑफ इनकम फ्रॉम इंसिडेंटल ऑपरेशंस. बिल्डिंग कंस्ट्रक्ट कर रहे हैं, बिल्डिंग कंस्ट्रक्शन में बहुत टाइम लगता है, तो एक फ्लोर बन गया, दूसरा तीसरा चौथा बाकी है, नीचे वाले फ्लोर को आपने टेम्पररी कार पार्किंग के लिए यूज करने लग गए, क्यों वेस्ट जाने देना? तो हर महीने 2-4 हज़ार रुपये इनकम चालू हो गई है. व्हाट अबाउट द इंसिडेंटल इनकम अराइजिंग एट द टाइम ऑफ कंस्ट्रक्शन ऑफ अ बिल्डिंग? Will you deduct it from the cost of the building? No, this will be treated as income and you credit it to profit and loss account. AS10 is applicable to bearer plants. Bearer plants are those which help in generation of agricultural produce. They are useful for more than 12 months. They are not meant for sale unless they have to be scrapped. Example, orange tree, apple tree, okay. So in that case, the treatment of a bearer plant will be same like any self-constructed asset. Treatment of bearer plant would be same like any self-constructed asset, and the cultivation activities will be similar to construction activities, because you also have to buy, say for example, seed. You have to spend money on cultivation of oranges, apple, so that will be treated like a cost. And all principles of property, plant and equipment will be applied to bearer plant, not to the produce on bearer plant. Now we'll come to exchange. Same like AS10. If you remember AS10, what do you mean by exchange for other assets? You acquire a car, buy a car, and you sell a computer. Okay, buy a car, sell a computer. or you buy a car, issue debentures of your company, or you buy a car and give 10 room rents to the other party. Suppose you are a hotel है आपकी एग्जाम्पल, तो एक दिन एक कार कंपनी का मालिक आ गया वहां पे, उससे आपने उसकी कार रख ली और बदले में उसको बोला 10 दिन आप ये वीआईपी सूट में रहो जाके, अब तो पैसे लेना देना कुछ नहीं हुआ, तो किस रेट पे कार को कैपिटलाइज करेंगे? कभी कार ली, बदले में कंप्यूटर भी दिया और 10,000 रुपये कैश भी दिए, ऐसा भी हो सकता है. सो समटाइम इट कैन बी पार्ट कैश, part other asset, sometime in other asset, sometime in the form of security, sometime in the form of services rendered. My question is, in all this example, at what rate this car would be capitalized which you have purchased? So here the golden rule is fair market value of the asset given up or fair market value of the asset acquired, whichever is more clearly evident. Whichever is more clearly evident. So cost of an asset acquired in exchange for another asset should be measured at fair value. Whose fair value will take? Fair value of asset given up, if that is clearly evident, or fair value of the asset acquired, if that is clearly evident, that can be taken. What if fair value of both cannot be determined? If the fair value of both asset cannot be determined, इसकी भी fair value नहीं पता चल रही, उसकी भी नहीं, ऐसा कब होगा? Suppose you are an unlisted entity, you are an unlisted company and you have issued your shares and you have purchased a 5-year-old second-hand car from Japan. कार फ्रॉम जापान, उसकी फेयर वैल्यू निकालना मुश्किल है. एक तो ये फॉरेन मेक कार है, जापानीज कार है, 5 साल ओल्ड है, सेकेंड हैंड है. देयर इज नो मार्केट वेयर यू मे immediately get a quote for that car. Is it right? So in that case the standard says you will take the carrying amount of the asset given up. Carrying amount of the asset given up, that means book value of the asset given up, and obviously if you have paid some cash also, add that cash component also. Is it right? तो वापस एक बार मैं रिवाइज करता हूँ. फेयर मार्केट वैल्यू ऑफ द एसेट गिवन अप और फेयर मार्केट वैल्यू ऑफ द एसेट एक्वायर्ड, व्हिचएवर इज मोर क्लियरली एविडेंट. सपोज यू हैव परचेज्ड अ कार, okay, and you have issued shares of your company which is a listed company, and the shares are actively traded on the stock exchange. Can I say the fair market value of this listed company share is more clearly evident? Yes. Suppose you have purchased a brand new car and you have issued shares of your company which is an unlisted entity. Whose fair value will be more clearly determinable here? The car. It's a brand new car. There is a price tag. Anybody knows that this is the value of that car. The problem will arise if it is an old car, second-hand car, imported car, and you are an unlisted entity. Then take the carrying amount of the asset given up. Carrying amount of the asset given up, underline. Now there is a small example I have presented. There are 4 situations I have created. So only focus on first column. There is small correction in your notes required here. You have to write more clearly evident. I think this is not printed. If not, write it down. Case 1, fair value of the asset acquired 12. More clearly evident. Fair value of the asset given is also available 10, but I have written this is more clearly evident. Carrying amount is 8. Carrying amount is 8. What is the cost of the new asset acquired? Fair market value of the asset acquired or fair market value of the asset given, whichever is more clearly evident. So answer is 12. Second column, fair market value of the asset acquired is not clearly evident. Asset given up is clearly evident 10. Carrying amount is 8. So first priority I will give to fair market value of any of the two if it is available. So at least this is available, 10. Third situation, fair market value of the asset acquired is available, 12. Asset given up is not clearly available or not available. At least one of the two is available, then answer is 12. Fourth possibility, both are not available. Then we'll take the carrying amount of the asset given up, 8, as the cost of the new asset. So on day 1, we'll account for that asset at 8. Some more other aspects of initial measurement. Now tick mark the next paragraph which is coming on the screen. Payment is deferred beyond normal credit terms. Some paragraph is there. If you have studied hire purchase or installment system, it is talking about the same thing. Okay. Let us say you have an option to purchase a car. Cash price of the car is 5 lakh. You have an option to purchase it on installment basis also. So the installment price is 1,20,000 per annum into 6 installment, 7,20,000. The question is, what is the initial cost of this car? 5 lakh or 7,20,000? The answer is 5 lakh. In the exam, what they will give you, a basic question on AS10 revised. A purchases a car, it pays an installment of 1,20,000 per annum for 6 years. The discount rate is 10%. At what amount the car will be capitalized? So you will take 1,20,000 into present value, annuity factor, 10%, 6 years. जरा कैलकुलेटर पे ट्राई करना, 6 year 10% annuity factor, 4 point something, just check, 4.35, 5, okay, no problem, multiply by 1,20,000. So you will say, if this simple question is asked, asset will be capitalized at 5,22,000, okay, rounded off. And what about the remaining amount? You are paying actually 7,20,000. The remaining amount is interest. And the moment it comes to interest, go to AS16. The moment it comes to interest, what is the treatment of interest? AS16. Prima facie, it will be charged to P&L account unless it is a qualifying asset. In that case, it may be capitalized also. So that is an important discussion on credit terms beyond normal deferred credit term, which means the price includes interest. We have to remove the interest and only capitalize the cash price. Consolidated price is paid for several items of PPE. This is same like AS10, old AS10. Okay, suppose this is the land. On land there is a building. You paid 5 lakh rupees for purchasing both land and building. Now while doing accounting, you can't write land and building account debit bank to bank 5 lakh. Kyun? Land will be debited separately, building will be debited separately. The reason is simple, land is not depreciated. Today you may debit both together also, but then what about the depreciation from subsequent year? You cannot depreciate land generally. In exceptional cases we can, if the land has a limited useful life. Like for example leasehold land. But that is exception. In general land is not depreciated. So we have to divide it. No choice. How do we divide it? If I find out the fair value of only building, fair value of only building is 4 lakh. If I purchase only building, no land, then I will have to pay 4 lakh. If I purchase only land, no building, 2 lakh, but I paid a lump sum amount 5 lakh. So what I'll do, this 5 will be a portion between building, land in the ratio of 4:2. If fair market value is not available for land and building, you have to take the help of a valuer. You have to take the help of a valuer. There are people who are valuers who can help you in finding out the fair value of land separately, building separately. अभी ऐसा भी हो सकता है कि इस बिल्डिंग में ये AC फिटेड है, 3 इधर 3 इधर, तो अब क्या करेंगे, टोटल 5 लाख को 3 पार्ट में फिर डिवाइड करेंगे. ओके, दैट ऑल्सो यू कैन डू. सपोज कुछ प्लांट एंड मशीनरी ऑलरेडी इंस्टॉल्ड है, जैसे आपने किसी की फैक्ट्री एक्वायर कर ली, एक लमसम अमाउंट देके पूरी की पूरी फैक्ट्री आपने एक्वायर कर ली. फैक्ट्री में लैंड भी है, बिल्डिंग भी है, प्लांट एंड मशीनरी भी है, एयर कंडीशनर्स भी है, अदर इक्विपमेंट्स भी. इन दैट केस दैट अमाउंट विल हैव टू बी डिवाइडेड ओवर डिफरेंट एसेट इन द रेशियो ऑफ fair value. And if fair value is not possible, then you have to take the help of some competent valuer. They will guide you, they will charge a fees for that. Okay. PPE held by an lessee under a finance lease. This I think in the introduction also we have covered. Accounting standard 19 will be applicable at the time of initial measurement. And if I revise AS 19, it says asset acquired under finance lease will be capitalized at lower of the two, fair value and present value of minimum lease payment, whichever is lower. And once you capitalize the asset, then that asset की subsequent accounting किसके under चले जाएगी? AS 10. Depreciation, impairment will be covered by then AS 10. And the payment of lease, rental, etc. will be covered by that AS 19. Next special situation is government grant related to fixed asset. So again it is same as AS 10 old. You will simply go to AS 12 and whatever AS 12 suggests, you do that. For example, if you receive a PPE free of cost from the government, then nominal amount, just few rupees you will put there so that at least the asset appears in your balance sheet. 1 rupee also is okay. If the asset is purchased for a concessional rate, then whatever amount you have actually paid, and wherever appropriate, either gross basis or net basis accounting can be adopted. What is gross basis? So I will have to revise AS 12. Suppose this is a depreciable asset, machine, with respect to which you received the government grant. 2 suggestions are given in AS 12. 1, credit the grant to asset account, and in future depreciation will automatically be reduced. Second option is do not credit the asset account, you credit a deferred income account and transfer from deferred income to P&L account in the ratio of depreciation. That is called gross approach. Asset alag, deferred government grant alag. Net approach, asset minus grant received. Both are allowed, follow AS 12. So at many places they have kept same provisions of old AS 10 also. Measurement after recognition. Now very important point. Next, AS 10 revised has a very important difference as compared to AS 10 old. What is that? In AS 10 revised, they have suggested 2 models for subsequent measurement of PPE. 1, cost model. Cost model means historical cost. Once we capitalize the asset at cost, the definition of cost we have seen: cash, cash equivalent, exchange, government grant, consolidated price, ये वो सब कर लिया हमने. Then you just have to provide depreciation on that, and if applicable you have to provide impairment loss. That is called cost model. What you have been learning so far is cost model. But they have also permitted revaluation model. This is a policy decision, accounting policy decision. Management has to decide whether they want to follow cost model or revaluation model. if you want to follow revaluation model, whole class of asset, for the entire class of asset, you'll follow revaluation model. Example, suppose furniture, I want to follow revaluation model. I can't do pick and choose now. All furniture will be accounted using revaluation model. Suppose I use revaluation model for building, then all buildings will be accounted using revaluation model. Is it possible that for some asset I follow cost model and for some asset I follow revaluation model? That is allowed. Plant and machinery I can follow cost model. Furniture and building I can follow revaluation model. That is allowed. But the whole class of asset will be accounted using either cost model or revaluation model. So some summary of cost model is printed here. That in cost model, first capitalize the asset at cost. We have already seen after so much of efforts. Minus every year depreciation and minus any accumulated impairment loss as usual. If you follow revaluation model, then periodically, frequently, you will revalue the asset to bring it in line with its fair value on the reporting date. How frequently you have to revalue, that is not mentioned. They have only said it should be frequently revalued. More than once in a year is also allowed, once in 3 years is also allowed. It should be frequently revalued so that the amount appearing in balance sheet and its fair value are not significantly different from each other. Minus depreciation minus impairment loss will be revaluation model. So next 2 minutes now we'll understand revaluation model. It is more or less similar like your accounting standard 10 old. What is the new paragraph they have added? This paragraph. That revaluation should be made with sufficient regularity. AS 10 does not talk anything about like this. AS 10 only says if the management wants to revalue, it can revalue an asset upward or downward. This standard also says you should revalue. If you have chosen revaluation model, then पूरी तरह से AS 10 का instruction follow करना है. You have to revalue it with sufficient regularity. Now what is that sufficient regularity? If the asset value fluctuates frequently, like say for example building, am I right? Then you have to do it annual revaluation. But if suppose the assets value do not fluctuate frequently, then you can choose a time span yourself, which may be set once in 2 years or once in 3 years, once in 4 years, that you can decide. But it should be frequently done so that the book value does not differ materially from the fair value. The purpose of allowing revaluation model is that the balance sheet should reflect the fair value of the asset. Otherwise, what happens in historical cost model, we don't really know what is the real worth of this company. What is the value of this company, we don't know from balance sheet, because land may be appearing at 3 lakh rupees purchased in 1978, whose market value today may be 2 crore rupees. That means balance sheet in that case does not give me the real worth of this company. So therefore revaluation model is allowed, but that is a policy decision, it's not mandatory. If you want to follow revaluation model, entire class will be revalued. Selective revaluation is not permitted. We have 2 buildings, one in Delhi near Connaught Place, one in Kabul, Afghanistan's capital. Connaught Place के पास उसकी वैल्यू 10 गुना बढ़ गई है, और काबुल वाले की वैल्यू रिवर्स 10 गुना घट गई है. 10 गुना घट कैसे सकती है? अच्छा, घट गई तो हम क्या करेंगे? मैनेजमेंट क्या करेगी? इट विल रिवैल्यू ओनली द बिल्डिंग सिचुएटेड इन कनॉट प्लेस, न्यू दिल्ली, एंड इट विल कीप द बिल्डिंग इन काबुल एट हिस्टोरिकल कॉस्ट ओनली, सो दैट उसका लॉस बुकिंग ना हो, बट उसका एटलीस्ट गेन क्रेडिट हो जाए रिवैल्यूएशन रिजर्व में. सिलेक्टिव रिवैल्यूएशन इज नॉट अलाउड. Example of different classes of asset: land, building, machinery, ships, aircraft, motor vehicle, furniture and fixture, office equipment and bearer plants. Now what about the treatment of revaluation gain or loss? If you are revaluing it for the first time, as you know, the gain will be credited to revaluation surplus account. This standard uses the term revaluation surplus. My previous standard AS10 used to use revaluation reserve account. Anyway, it doesn't make much difference to me. Second, in case if the asset is to be revalued downward, first time you will debit profit and loss account. Loss on revaluation, P&L account, gain on revaluation, first time, revaluation reserve. What about subsequent revaluation? Again, like your old AS10 only. If an asset was revalued downward earlier, now you want to revalue it upward. Earlier downward, now upward. तो earlier मैंने क्या किया था? P&L अकाउंट को डेबिट किया था. तो अभी मैं P&L अकाउंट को क्रेडिट करूंगा. कितना? जितना हमने पहले डेबिट किया था. Because the shareholders have suffered that figure. उनका डिविडेंड कम हुआ, तो इस बार उतना क्रेडिट कर देंगे, उनको कॉम्पेंसेट करेंगे. Extra amount we can credit the revaluation reserve account. And similarly, if an asset which has to be revalued downward now, earlier it was revalued upward, I have credited revaluation surplus account. So I will debit it to the extent of balance in that account, and any extra amount if I have to write off, then it will go through profit and loss account. Can I set off the revaluation loss of one asset against revaluation surplus of another asset? That is not written in the standard. Common sense is to be required now. I have machine A, machine B. There is a gain of 1 lakh rupees on revaluation. There is a loss of 90,000 rupees over here. What will be the treatment? Here the treatment would be asset account debit 1 lakh to revaluation surplus account 1 lakh. Here the entry will be P&L account debit 90,000 to machine B account 90,000. Can I just pass an entry for 10,000? मशीन ए अकाउंट डेबिट 10,000 टू रिवैल्यूएशन सरप्लस 10,000. ऐसा नहीं कर सकते हैं. उसी तरह नेक्स्ट ईयर सपोज इसमें हमें लॉस हो गया, मशीन ए की रिवैल्यूएशन में हमें लॉस हो गया नेक्स्ट ईयर, तो अभी हम क्या करेंगे? मशीन ए में हमने रिवैल्यूएशन रिजर्व क्रिएट कर रखा है, पहले उसको डेबिट करेंगे. या सपोज नेक्स्ट ईयर इसमें फिर से लॉस हो गया मशीन बी में, नेक्स्ट ईयर मशीन बी में फिर से लॉस हो गया. कैन आई यूज द रिवैल्यूएशन सरप्लस ऑफ मशीन ए सेकेंड ईयर में? द आंसर इज अगेन नो. ईच एसेट इज सेपरेट. उनका रिवैल्यूएशन गेन लॉस भी सेपरेट है. इट्स अ वाटर टाइट कंपार्टमेंट. यू कैन नॉट यूज द रिवैल्यूएशन लॉस नाउ और इन फ्यूचर ईयर अगेंस्ट द रिवैल्यूएशन सरप्लस ऑफ अदर एसेट. As you are a student of CA final and IPCC, you know that for accounting purpose, each asset is accounted separately. And somewhere in your audit also you must have learned that company has to maintain separate fixed asset register under CARO. And if you have really seen a company, big company, they maintain the record of each individual asset. And therefore they have a track of the revaluation surplus or loss of each asset, because that query normally student asks. As the asset is used by the enterprise, a portion of the revaluation surplus may be transferred to revenue reserve. Now just please pay attention over here. This paragraph was not there in accounting standard 10. It was not officially there, although there was a guidance note on revaluation reserve which had a similar provision. What is that? Let us understand an asset was purchased for 1 lakh original cost. It was revalued at 2 lakh. It was revalued at 2 lakh. So what is the entry I have passed? Fixed asset account debit 1 lakh, agreed, to revaluation surplus 1 lakh. Fixed asset account debit 1 lakh to revaluation surplus 1 lakh. Now what about depreciation? I am going to provide depreciation on 22 lakh now. Yes or no? So suppose 10% is the rate of depreciation. So I will provide depreciation 20,000. Had I not revalued it, I would have provided a depreciation of 10,000. How much excess depreciation I have to provide due to revaluation? Is it 10,000? How much excess depreciation we have to provide due to revaluation? 10,000. Now you see what AS 10 says. The amount to be transferred from revaluation surplus is the difference between depreciation based on revalued amount, means 20,000, and the depreciation based on original cost. So second entry I am going to pass here. Depreciation account debit 20,000 to fixed asset account 20,000. And one more entry I will pass. Revaluation surplus account debit 10,000 to revenue reserve 10,000. So I will release 10,000 rupees. I will release 10,000 rupees from revaluation surplus to revenue reserve, not to P&L account. That they mentioned specifically also, that this surplus will not be routed through P&L account. This surplus will be directly transferred to revenue reserve. P&L account should get a full hit of 20,000. ओके नहीं तो आप क्या करोगे, P&L अकाउंट के थ्रू रूट करोगे. इससे क्या फायदा होगा, आपका प्रॉफिट ज़्यादा दिखेगा. अगर मैंने इसको P&L अकाउंट में क्रेडिट कर दिया तो क्या होगा, एक तरफ 20,000 डेबिट गया है डिप्रीशिएशन और 10,000 रुपये का क्रेडिट दिखेगा आपको. तो सिर्फ 10 का इफेक्ट दिखेगा आपको P&L अकाउंट में. तो उन्होंने कहा कि P&L अकाउंट में पूरा डिप्रीशिएशन जाने दो रिवैल्यूड अमाउंट में, और जो एक्सेस डिप्रीशिएशन हमने प्रोवाइड किया ड्यू टू रिवैल्यूएशन, उसको आप रिवैल्यूएशन सरप्लस से रिलीज कर दो and transfer it to revaluation reserve. So it becomes a free reserve. It becomes a free reserve, and then you can issue bonus share, you can pay dividend, whatever you want. Now next part is derecognition. Derecognition means removing asset from the books of account. So removing the cost of the asset, removing depreciation, impairment loss, and all those accounts relating to that asset from the books of account. When we will derecognize an asset, any balance left in revaluation surplus now, any balance left in revaluation surplus relating to that asset will be transferred to revenue reserve. Does it remind you of AS 10? Yes, this is same. Once an asset is derecognized, the corresponding revaluation surplus relating to that asset will be transferred to revenue reserve. In old AS10, the name of this reserve was general reserve. So they have changed the name from general reserve to revenue reserve now, more or less same. Okay. All transfers from revaluation surplus to revenue reserve are made directly and not routed through P&L account. Like that earlier example I said, depreciation 10,000 रुपये आपने रिवैल्यूएशन सरप्लस टू रेवेन्यू रिजर्व, अभी भी आपने एसेट बेच दिया, रिवैल्यूएशन सरप्लस में बैलेंस बचा हुआ है, तो डायरेक्टली एंट्री क्या होगी यहाँ पे, रिवैल्यूएशन सरप्लस टू रेवेन्यू रिजर्व. Can you can ask this question, can I pass revaluation surplus to P&L account? Then P&L account to revenue reserve? The answer is no, because it will increase your profit figure. Now, depreciation. So some time will spend on depreciation now, 5 minutes on depreciation. It is similar to your accounting standard 6, but this has introduced the concept of componentization. What is the new thing in this depreciation accounting now? Componentization. Other than that, more or less it is same. Now what is componentization? I will repeat the example of a aircraft. Okay, this is aircraft. These are the seats. Aircraft life is 15 years. These seats and other interiors items may be 3 years only. So what I'll do, I have purchased this, purchased this aircraft for 10 CR, 10 crore, and this interior together maybe 2 crore. So what I'll do, for simplicity, for understanding purpose, I will depreciate these 2 crore seats and other interior items over 3-year useful life, and I will depreciate this main aircraft, engine and other parts over 15 years. That is called componentization. So this is a little complicated accounting. So should it be done for each and every part? अभी एयरक्राफ्ट में मान लो 1000 पार्ट्स हैं. Can I divide into 1000 parts? No, it has to be significant part. Two conditions keep in mind. It has to be a significant item, significant part. And secondly, its useful life should be different from other parts. Its useful life should be different from other parts. All other insignificant items will be brought together, put together as one item only. Okay? So the example is also written here. It may be appropriate to depreciate separately airframe and engine of an aircraft. Now, you will have this challenge in the coming days. AS10 has become applicable from 1/4/17. तो भी आर्टिकलशिप में अगले साल से ये भी काम करना है. कार परचेस करके लाएंगे, उसकी टायर अलग निकालेंगे, सीट अलग निकालेंगे, व्हील, स्टीयरिंग व्हील अलग, अंदर जो म्यूजिक सिस्टम लगा रखा है उसको अलग, एसी लगा रखा है उसको अलग, और सबको अलग अलग depreciate करना according to their respective useful life if it is significant. Now what is significant? So write 10% of total value. That is given in Schedule 2 of Companies Act. That is given in Schedule 2. Schedule 2 of Companies Act is depreciation accounting. So where they have said it has to be at least 10% of the total value of the asset. A lot of judgment would be required nowadays for this depreciation accounting. Where will depreciation be transferred to? As usual, P&L account. Can it be capitalized? Can depreciation be capitalized? The answer is yes, if it is related to construction, acquisition of another asset. For example, this is my computer and I am using this computer to develop a software. Okay, to design, develop a software and require a computer first. Depreciation of this computer will be added to the cost of development of software. That is possible. Machinery. Suppose this is a factory machine. Factory machine depreciation is a factory overhead. Depreciation of a factory building, factory machine is a factory or production overhead. Go to AS2. AS2 says inventory cost will include production overheads also. So therefore in that case, the depreciation of a factory machine or a factory building actually gets added to the cost of the inventory. And if that inventory is not sold in this year, it gets transferred to the next year as a part of inventory cost. So sometime it is possible that depreciation may not be fully transferred to P&L account. And now one more important difference in this revised AS10, which is correct also, because in the year of uncertainties, we don't know what may be the residual value and what may be the useful life of an asset. Yes or no? Uncertainties are increasing. Depreciation accounting requires estimations. Estimation about one useful life. Yes or no? Estimation about useful life. Is useful life a certain number? Tell me, You have a car, you have a bike. Can you tell me with certainty what is the number of years for which you are going to use it? No. Imagine what a company can do. Yes or no? So the standard says you have to review useful life every year. What about residual value? All of you have got a two-wheeler or a four-wheeler. Okay. You are going to use it for some years, you are going to sell it after that. Can you tell me with certainty what is the residual value? No. It may go up, it may go down. Is it right? So therefore the standard says review residual value and useful life every year. Compulsory. Is it compulsory in AS10 old? No. So you have to review it, and if required you may revise it also. You may increase it also, you may decrease it also. And the change in residual value or change in useful life will be called change in accounting estimate, and therefore AS5 will be applied. Change in residual value or change in useful life is not a change in accounting policy. Is a change in accounting estimate. AS5 will apply. I have to give disclosures. The disclosure requirement for change in estimate is relatively lower than the disclosure requirement when it comes to change in accounting policy. So estimate को assume करना estimate change हो गया, and you are right also. When should we start depreciating an asset? Suppose I purchase a robot. Example. Can I not purchase a robot? After 10 years, you will find robots everywhere. More than human beings, robots will be seen on the road. They are driving your car, they are driving your two-wheelers, they are managing the traffics also. Everywhere. Huh? Teaching also. Okay. Anyway, I am happy. I have accumulated enough wealth. After 20 years I can survive. Now, and I will teach robots. Okay. So, still I am happy. Back to normal. So, robot ले लिया हमने. What is the purpose of the robot? To count attendance of the student. Employees are insufficient or they are incompetent. Okay. They don't come on time. They go before time. They take all national holidays. Robot will not take any holiday. The moment I installed robot in the office, now employees are coming on time, leaving after time, no holiday. Why? I have told them if you are absent, I will switch on the robot and then you will not be required from tomorrow. When should I start depreciating the cost of robot? When it is available for use. Actual switching is not required. Simple example which institute have asked in the exam. This was my creativity. Suppose you have purchased a generator set so that in case if there is a power failure, you can use it. During the entire year there was no power failure. Unbelievable, but it is true. In the institute's paper. Will you provide depreciation on that generator set? It is available for use. Depreciation should be charged even if the asset is idle. Same example. This generator or robot, even if they are idle or is retired from active use but not held for disposal. If the asset is held for disposal, we will not provide depreciation. Now what do you mean by held for disposal? The management has made up its plan to dispose that asset and they are actively looking for a buyer who can purchase the asset, and the asset is available in a situation where it can be sold to anybody who is willing to pay the price. That is called held for disposal. हमने ये प्रोजेक्टर सपोज एग्जाम्पल निकाल दिया और यहाँ नोटिस बोर्ड पे लिख दिया प्रोजेक्टर फॉर सेल, then it is held for disposal. I will not depreciate it now. The reason is it is no longer generating revenue. matching concept is not satisfied now. So therefore depreciation will stop once it is held for disposal. But if it is idle, suppose 3 days I don't teach in the classroom, will I provide depreciation for those 3 days also? Yes. Or is retired from active use unless the asset is fully depreciated. However, where the depreciation is based on production unit, I have done some editing, so what is production unit I have not told you. Depreciation can be provided on the basis of number of units produced. That is a method permitted by this standard as well as Schedule 2 of the Companies Act. Right? Now, in a year, suppose there is no production, how will you provide depreciation? Formula for production method is, those who don't know, is number of units produced during the year. Number of units produced. Produced की spelling क्या होती है? Whatever. Produced. Divide by estimated total production over the entire useful life multiplied by cost minus salvage value. This is the formula for providing depreciation on units of production basis. Simply put, proportionate amount. मान लो ये प्रोजेक्टर की लाइफ 3000 hours है, 3000 hours, and in this year I have used 200 hours only. So 200 divided by 3000 into cost minus scrap value. But what if I have not used any single hour? Then depreciation will be not provided in that case. Okay. Now depreciation should be recognized even when the fair value of the asset exceeds the carrying amount. One more question in the ICA exam on this topic also. This was there in old AS10 also. Suppose there is a building. The carrying amount of the building is 5 crore rupees carrying amount, but its market value is 6 crore rupees. Management says there is no need to provide depreciation because the value has actually gone up rather than going down, coming down. So what is your response as an auditor? We do not provide depreciation just because its value has gone up or gone down. Depreciation is provided to ensure matching concept. There is an asset which you have used. There is an asset which you have consumed. So therefore, there must be a proportionate charge in the profit and loss account for use of that asset. That is depreciation. And therefore, even if the market value of an asset goes up, depreciation has to be provided. Only in one more situation you will not provide depreciation. When the residual value exceeds the carrying amount. Example. Formula for SLM depreciation. Cost or carrying amount minus residual value divided by number of useful years, number of years. For example, cost is 1 CR and the residual value is 2 CR divided by 15 years building. If you do the mathematics, it will be minus something. Minus something means instead of debiting depreciation to your P&L account, you will be actually crediting the P&L account. So in that case, do not provide depreciation. That is okay. Also, depreciation charge should be stopped on the occurrence of any of these events. Already discussed, asset is retired from active use and held for disposal. Only active use से हमने retire किया तो depreciation चलता रहेगा. But if it is held for disposal, depreciation will not be further provided, and obviously once the asset is de-recognized, will you provide depreciation? Asset के बेचने के बाद भी क्या depreciation charge करना है? नहीं. किसने लिखा ये standard? Anyway, but they have clarified. What about land and building? I have covered this point. Even if you pay a single amount for land and building, you have to separate that cost because land has an unlimited useful life and building has a limited life. So land usually is not depreciated and building will be depreciated. Which are the methods of depreciation permitted or suggested by this AS10. Prima facie, the first priority we will give it to, again tick mark something new not there in old AS10, pattern in which economic benefits of the asset are expected to be consumed by the enterprise. This is a method, economic benefit pattern method. Economic benefit pattern method. So suppose you assume that this asset will generate cash flow of 10 lakh, 8 lakh, 7 lakh, 6 lakh, 5 lakh over next 5 years. This asset will generate cash flow of 10, 8, 7, 6, 5 over next 5 years. You can depreciate the depreciable amount in this ratio allowed. Okay. A variety of depreciation method can be used. This is not the only method, because estimating future economic benefit pattern is little difficult. Future itself is uncertain. So although that is an appropriate method, but practically applying it will be difficult. So what you can do, you can follow SLM, you can follow WDV, you can follow units of production. So most of the companies generally follow WDV and SLM. An enterprise must select that method which more clearly reflects the expected pattern of consumption. So even if you choose SLM or WDV, see whether we are getting equal benefits from the asset in all the years, or whether we are getting more benefits in the earlier year and less benefit in the later years. So if the pattern is equal benefits in all the year, more or less, SLM. Pattern is more benefit in earlier year, less benefit in later years, as you can follow WDV. In some cases, units of production method can also be followed. That depends on the nature of the asset. Can we change the method of depreciation? The answer is yes. When can we change the method of depreciation? अब ये स्टूडेंट बोलेगा तोते की तरह रटा हुआ है, change is required by the law, change is required by accounting standard, change would result into more appropriate presentation of financial statement. नहीं लिखना है. If your future economic benefit pattern has changed, you can change the method of depreciation. इस बार वो change in law, change in statute, change in standard ये सब नहीं है. Only if the expected pattern of consumption of future economic benefit changes, you can change the method of depreciation. तो एक बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट मिल गया आपको. और दूसरा इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट क्या है उससे भी ज्यादा, दिस चेंज इन मेथड ऑफ डेप्रिसिएशन एज पर रिवाइज्ड AS10 इज चेंज इन अकाउंटिंग एस्टिमेट, नॉट अ चेंज इन अकाउंटिंग पॉलिसी. सो इट विल नॉट बी गिवन रेट्रोस्पेक्टिव इफेक्ट. 11th स्टैंडर्ड से हमें सिखाया जा रहा था, इफ चेंज इन मेथड ऑफ डेप्रिसिएशन टेक्स प्लेस विल गिव रेट्रोस्पेक्टिव इफेक्ट. नो मोर. Even the change in depreciation method will be given prospective effect. In case if any annual revaluation of fixed asset, yes, on revalued amount you have to provide depreciation for the remaining useful life.
If you change the method annually and the revaluation annually,
if you change the method also annually and revalued also annually, then also prospectively only. Okay. So earlier you had carrying amount of 10 lakh. This fellow is asking a question. Suppose we revalue it to 15 lakh. Earlier we followed SLM. Now I need to follow WDV. Both you have to do prospectively. Okay, I just missed this line. Impairment. Now 2 points I will explain. One, if you think the asset is impaired, then go to AS28, and if the AS28 suggests that you have to provide for impairment loss, the presentation, calculation, measurement, etc. will be covered by AS28. Only what is the new paragraph they have added here? In case if any asset is impaired, okay, and I'm going to get compensation from someone else, like for example I have a Sony television, इम्पेयर हो गया, ठीक है, तो कंपनी ने बोला कि हम आपको कॉम्पेंसेशन देंगे. मैंने कहा ये क्या बात हुई, अभी अभी मैंने टीवी लाया, 2 साल भी नहीं हुए हैं, पिक्चर उल्टी आ रही है। तो उन्होंने कहा ठीक है, हम आपको 1 लाख रुपए कॉम्पनसेशन दे देंगे। एग्जाम्पल। अदरवाइज मैं क्या बोलूंगा कि नहीं, अपना टीवी ले जाओ, कल को मैं फेसबुक में लिख दूंगा ये सोनी कंपनी की टीवी खराब है, मेरे 5 करोड़ फॉलोअर्स हैं इंडिया में, तो सब तक न्यूज फैल जाएगा, डिवाइड बाय 1 करोड़ ना हो। तो पूरा सुना नहीं आपने। तो दे विल से ओके, विल रिप्लेस इट। कैन आई रिकॉग्नाइज दैट एज एन इनकम? The answer is yes. If the compensation becomes receivable, it will be credited to P&L account. This was not there in the old standard. Retirement. Suppose I want to retire an asset from active use and I am going to sell it if I find a customer. So what will be the valuation of an asset retired from active use and held for disposal? प्रोजेक्टर में हटा लिया, यहां पे रख दिया काउंटर पे, बाहर नोटिस बोर्ड पे लिखा हुआ प्रोजेक्टर फॉर सेल। सो इट इज रिटायर्ड फ्रॉम एक्टिव यूज, अभी यहां पर इंस्टॉल्ड नहीं है, मीन्ड फॉर सेल। व्हाट विल बी द वैल्यूएशन ऑफ दिस एसेट? लोअर ऑफ द टू, कैरिंग अमाउंट वट एवर इज द बुक वैल्यू, और नेट रिलायजेबल वैल्यू, विच एवर इज लोअर। एंड इन केस सपोज द नेट रिलायजेबल वैल्यू इज लोअर, the loss will be charged to profit and loss account. It will not be depreciated. I repeat, once an asset is held for disposal, it won't be depreciated further. Every year you have to compare carrying amount with NRV, and whichever is lower, you'll keep that amount in the books and difference will be charged to P&L account. When should we de-recognize PPE? When any of the following 2 events happen. Event number 1, disposal of the asset. Very simple, sale of an asset. Or you simply discard it. And secondly, when no future economic benefits are expected from its use or disposal. Asset is of no use to you. It doesn't have any disposal value also. Then you will remove that asset from the books of account. And इसको write off कर देना है। और नीचे एक मैंने नोट लिखा, आपकी प्रिंट में भी कहीं रहेगा, 2-3 पैराग्राफ के नीचे, एनी गेन और लॉस ड्यू टू डिस्पोजल, डी रिकॉग्निशन, विल बी ट्रांसफर टू प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस अकाउंट, विल बी ट्रांसफर टू प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस अकाउंट। पहले P&L अकाउंट में पूरा लॉस ट्रांसफर करना है। फिर कोई स्टूडेंट पूछेगा इससे रिलेटेड जो रिवैल्यूएशन सरप्लस है, उससे रिलेटेड रिवैल्यूएशन सरप्लस को आप रेवेन्यू रिजर्व में ट्रांसफर करेंगे अगर हुआ तो। AS 10 पुराने में क्या लिखा था कि अगर एसेट जो हमने सेल किया लॉस हुआ तो पहले लॉस को रिवैल्यूएशन रिजर्व में एडजस्ट करेंगे और एक्सेस लॉस को P&L अकाउंट में ट्रांसफर करेंगे। नाउ देयर इज अ डिफरेंस, यू हैव टू फर्स्ट ट्रांसफर द लॉस टू P&L अकाउंट एंड बैलेंस इन रिवैल्यूएशन रिजर्व और रिवैल्यूएशन सरप्लस विल बी ट्रांसफर टू रेवेन्यू रिजर्व। ओके, now one more new paragraph for you. Suppose an enterprise regularly gives asset on rent. Regularly gives asset on rent. आपके पास बहुत सारी मशीन्स हैं, आप उसको रेंट पे देते हैं और बीच बीच में उसको बेचते भी रहते हैं। So here your selling of such asset which you usually give it on rent is more frequent. In that case, the proceed from the sale of such asset will be treated as revenue as per AS 9. So this is again a very new paragraph for us. An enterprise that in the course of its ordinary activities routinely sells items of PPE that it had held for rentals to others should transfer such asset to inventory at their carrying amount when they cease to be rented and they are becoming held for sale. Asset which are given on rent. Now you don't want to rent it, you are holding it for sale, so it becomes an inventory, and when it is sold it is treated as revenue. Asset which are usually given on rent. Now you don't want to rent it, you want to sell it. So you will classify it as inventory now, and the sale of that item will be as usual treated as revenue. Now the last part, disclosures. So I'll just read the few items. I think there is a long list printed in your presentation sheet. The disclosure requirement under this revised AS10 is much longer, elaborate, detailed than the old AS10. So I'll read the important ones. First, you should disclose the measurement basis, whether you are following cost model or revaluation model for each class of asset. Depreciation method used will be disclosed. Useful life or depreciation rate used will be disclosed. Suppose the entity falls under certain law, like for example, Companies Act 2013. There is a schedule 2 which gives you useful life of fixed asset. If you are using a useful life which is different from Companies Act, this paragraph is applicable to Companies Act, companies. AS10 revised is applicable to all entities, even if you are not a company. तो आपको डिस्क्लोजर देना है that on these assets we have used different useful lives. Possible, allowed. Gross carrying amount, accumulated depreciation and accumulated impairment loss at the beginning and at the end. That is your fixed asset note that you prepare. Gross block, opening, addition, deduction, closing. Accumulated depreciation, opening, addition, deduction, closing. Net block. And again that same fixed asset note that we prepare where we reconcile the balance right from the beginning till the end. You will write addition separately during the year. Asset retired from active use and held for disposal will be presented separately in the fixed asset note. Asset acquired through business combination. What is business combination? Amalgamation, absorption will be presented separately. Increase or decrease resulting from revaluation and from impairment loss recognized or reversed directly in revaluation surplus, present separately. Impairment losses recognized or reversed in the statement of profit and loss. Depreciation. Net exchange difference arising on translation of the financial statement of a non-integral foreign operation in accordance with AS11. This we have not discussed AS11 today, don't bother. Any other changes in the carrying amount of your asset will be presented separately. और भी बहुत सारी चीज़ें हैं, आप अपने से एक बार पढ़ लोगे क्या? So this is revised AS10. Many new paragraphs, new concepts have been added. Many old concepts have been retained and many old concepts have been deleted also. So thank you very much. All the best.